Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Conversation Podcast. This is your place for natural English practice and easy daily conversation.
Hi there, I'm Mike.
And I'm Sarah. We're really happy you're here today. Mike, how's your day going?
Pretty good, actually. I had my coffee this morning and now I'm ready to chat with you and our listeners.
Perfect. Same here. I love these moments when we can sit and talk together.
Before we jump in, we'd like to ask you for one small thing.
Yes, if you're enjoying this podcast, please hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps other English learners discover our channel.
And if you feel like it, leave a comment below. Even something super simple, like your name and which country you're listening from.
We genuinely love hearing from you. And you know what? When you type a comment, you're actually practicing English without even realizing it.
That's true. Your brain is working, choosing vocabulary, putting words in order. It's real practice.
So don't be nervous about writing. One sentence is totally fine.
All right, let's get into today's topic.
Today, we're covering something you probably need quite often, which is how to introduce yourself in English.
And I know this sounds basic, but so many learners tell us they feel stuck when someone says, "So, can you tell me a bit about yourself?"
Exactly. You might know how to say your name or where you live, but putting it all together in a smooth way can feel tricky.
Your mind might go completely blank, or maybe you have too many ideas and don't know where to start.
Right. So, in this episode, we're going to walk through the different pieces of a good self introduction, step by step.
And at the end, we'll both share our complete introduction so you can hear real examples.
We'll also give you lots of sentence options, so you can pick the ones that feel right for you.
So, before we start building your introduction, let's talk about why this matters.
Good idea. This skill is super useful because you need it in so many situations. When you start a new job, when you meet someone at a party, when you join an online course.
Or when you're traveling and someone asks, "Where are you from?" And then the conversation grows from there.
I remember once I was at a workshop and the organizer said, "Let's go around the room. Everyone introduce yourself. Name, where you're from, what you do."
Oh, I can already feel the stress of waiting for your turn.
Right? My turn was getting closer and closer, and in my head, I was thinking, okay, I need to say something clear and confident.
And what happened when it was your turn?
Well, I said my name and where I'm from, and then my mind just stopped. I ended up saying, I like and everyone kind of laughed.
Hey, tea is important though.
It is, but I knew I could have said more. That's when I realized I needed a simple plan in my head, like a little script I could rely on.
I totally get that. I had something similar happen at a language meetup once.
Yeah? What was it like?
There were about 15 people sitting in a circle, and we each had to introduce ourselves. I was so focused on not forgetting my words that when my turn came, I said, "Hi, I'm Mike, and I enjoy music."
That's actually pretty good.
Thanks, but inside, I was thinking I could have mentioned my job, my hobbies, something about my family, but I panicked a bit.
And that's totally normal. When people are listening to you, it can feel like a lot of pressure.
Exactly. That's why having a basic structure helps so much. You don't need to memorize a long speech, just a few simple pieces you can put together.
So let's talk about those pieces. First, we should mention that introductions can be informal, semi-formal, or formal.
Right. Informal is when you're in a casual setting. Maybe you're chatting with someone at a cafe or meeting a friend of a friend.
In those moments, you can be relaxed. You don't need formal language. Just be natural and friendly.
Semi-formal is something like a networking event, a class with other professionals, or a business casual situation.
You're still friendly, but you want to sound a little more professional. Not too serious, but not super casual either.
And formal is for official occasions, job interviews, important meetings, academic presentations.
In these situations, you choose your words more carefully and keep things polite and clear.
The key is to notice which type of situation you're in and then adjust your language to match.
For example, if you're at a party, you probably won't say, "Good evening, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance."
That would be pretty funny at a party, actually.
It would. And in a job interview, you probably won't say, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yeah, better to save that for your friends.
So feel the situation first, then choose your style.
Let's start with the very first part, which is your greeting.
Yes, the greeting. These are the first words that come out of your mouth.
For formal situations, you can use phrases like hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening.
These are safe, polite, and professional. For example, if you're in an interview, you might say, "Good morning, thank you for inviting me today."
Simple and respectful.
For semi formal situations, you can say hi or hello. You might also use hi there.
Or you can just say morning instead of good morning. It sounds friendly but still polite.
And for informal situations with friends or classmates, you can use hey, hi, or hey there.
Some people say what's up or how's it going, but make sure it feels natural for you.
Exactly. If you don't normally say yo in your own language, don't suddenly start using it in English.
I tried saying yo once in class and my students just stared at me.
That's because it probably didn't match your personality.
True, so pick something that feels comfortable.
A simple phrase like, "Hi, nice to meet you," is perfect for most situations.
Or hello, good morning.
When you say it with a genuine smile, it already makes a good impression.
Okay, after the greeting, the next step is giving your name.
And this seems super simple, but there's actually a few different ways to do it.
The most basic way is I'm plus your name. For example, I'm Sarah.
Or, "I'm Mike."
You can also say my name is Sarah or my name is Mike.
This sounds a bit more formal, so it works well in professional settings.
For informal situations, you might just say your name directly, like, hi, Sarah.
Yeah, that's common when you're meeting someone casually.
In semi-formal or formal situations, you can also add a nice phrase like, hi, I'm Mike. It's nice to meet you.
Or, "Hello, my name is Sarah. I'm pleased to be here."
Those little additions make your introduction sound warmer and more polite.
So now they know your name, what comes next?
Usually, people want to know where you're from.
Right, this is one of the most common questions when you meet someone new.
The simplest way to say it is I'm from plus your country. For example, I'm from Canada.
Or, "I'm from Japan."
You can also be more specific and mention your city. I'm from Toronto, Canada.
Or, "I'm from Osaka, Japan."
If your city is very well known, like London or Paris, you can just say the city.
But if it's a smaller city, it helps to add the country so people understand.
Another option is to say I come from. For example, I come from Brazil.
This is a bit less common, but it's perfectly correct.
And if you don't live in your home country anymore, you can mention that too.
Yes, you can say, "I'm originally from Mexico, but now I live in the United States."
Or I was born in Italy, but I currently live in Germany.
This gives people a fuller picture of your background.
So let's practice a quick example. Sarah, where are you from?
"I'm from the United States, from a city called Boston."
Nice. And I'm from Canada. I grew up in Vancouver.
B, just like that.
Next step is talking about where you live now.
This is especially useful if you've moved to a different place.
The easiest phrase is I live in plus the city or country. For example, I live in London.
Or, "I live in Australia."
You can also say I'm currently living in or right now I'm living in.
These phrases are good when your living situation might be temporary.
For example, right now I'm living in Berlin for work.
Or, "I'm currently living in Spain while I study."
This shows that it might not be permanent.
And if you want to add more detail, you can mention who you live with.
Yes, like I live in Paris with my partner.
Or, "I live in Tokyo with 2 roommates."
Or even I live alone in a small apartment in the city center.
These little details make your introduction more personal and interesting.
All right, so now people know your name, where you're from, and where you live. The next part is usually about what you do.
Right, your job or your studies.
If you're working, the simple structure is I work as a plus your job title.
For example, "I work as a teacher."
Or I work as a nurse.
You can also say, "I'm a teacher" or "I'm a nurse."
Both are completely fine.
If you want to add where you work, you can say, "I work as a graphic designer at a small company."
Or
"I'm a doctor at City Hospital." And if you're a student, you can say, "I'm a student" or "I'm studying" plus your subject.
for example, I'm studying engineering.
Or, "I'm a university student and I'm studying psychology."
You can also mention which year you're in. I'm a second-year student studying business.
What if someone doesn't work or study right now?
Good question. You can say, I'm currently looking for work, or I'm taking some time off at the moment.
Or I'm a stay-at-home parent if that's your situation.
The important thing is to be honest and simple. Don't feel like you need to explain everything.
Exactly. One or two sentences about what you do is enough.
Okay, next we can talk about hobbies or interests.
This is where your introduction becomes more fun and personal.
The basic structure is, in my free time, I like to, or in my free time, I enjoy.
For example, in my free time, I like to read books.
Or, in my free time, I enjoy playing basketball.
You can also say, I love or I really enjoy.
I love cooking, or I really enjoy hiking.
If you want to mention more than one hobby, you can list them. I enjoy reading, cooking, and spending time with friends.
Or, I like running, listening to music, and watching movies.
Try to mention 2 or 3 things. More than that can feel like too much information.
And if someone asks what kind of books or movies you like, you can give a quick answer.
I mostly read mystery novels, or I enjoy action films.
That gives them something to connect with.
So now we've covered name, where you're from, where you live, what you do, and your hobbies. That's already a complete introduction.
But there are a few more pieces we can add if the conversation goes deeper.
Right, sometimes people ask about your family or your living situation.
You can keep this really simple. I live with my family, or I live with my husband and our 2 kids.
Or, I have one sister and she lives in another city.
My parents still live in my hometown.
You don't need to share everything, just what feels comfortable.
Another piece you can add is your daily routine.
This is useful in language classes or when someone asks, what's a typical day like for you?
You can say, on weekdays, I usually wake up at 7, have breakfast, and then go to work.
Or, in the morning, I normally check my emails, have coffee, and start my tasks around 9.
Keep it to 2 or 3 activities. Don't describe your entire day.
You can also mention when you practice English. After work, I usually study English for 30 minutes.
Or, in the evening, I like to watch English videos to improve my listening.
This shows your dedication to learning.
Sometimes people also want to know what kind of person you are.
Yes, your personality.
You can use simple adjectives like friendly, quiet, talkative, patient, creative, or hardworking.
For example, I'm a friendly and easygoing person.
Or, I'm usually quiet at first, but I open up when I feel comfortable.
You can also use what other people say about you. My friends say I'm funny and reliable.
Or, people tell me I'm patient and a good listener.
This feels less like bragging and more natural.
And sometimes the conversation might touch on your future plans or goals.
This usually happens when someone knows you a bit better.
You can say, in the future, I'd like to, or my goal is to, or one day I hope to,
For example, in the future, I'd like to work abroad for a few years.
or my goal is to become fluent in English and use it in my career.
One day, I hope to start my own small business.
You don't need a detailed plan, just one simple idea.
Exactly. So imagine someone asks you, why are you learning English?
You can answer, my goal is to use English for my job, or in the future, I'd like to travel more, so I'm improving my English.
Or, one day I hope to study at a university in an English-speaking country.
These answers show your motivation without being too long or complicated.
All right, so we've covered a lot of pieces now. Let me just recap quickly. We have greeting, name, where you're from, where you live, what you do, hobbies, family, daily routine, personality, and future plans.
That's a lot of options, but remember, you don't need to use all of them.
Right. Depending on the situation, you might only use 3 or 4 of these.
For a quick casual introduction, you might just say your name, where you're from, and what you do.
And for a longer introduction, maybe in a class or at an event, you can add hobbies and a bit about your personality.
The important thing is to have these pieces read in your mind, so when someone says, tell me about yourself, you don't freeze.
You just pick the pieces that fit the situation and put them together.
Now, let's talk about putting it all together into one smooth introduction.
Good idea. I'll create a short example first. Just listen.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from the United States, and I currently live in London. I work as an English teacher. In my free time, I enjoy reading and going to the cinema.
That was clear and simple. Now let me try one. Hello, I'm Mike. I'm from Canada, but I've been living in Spain for the past 3 years. I work in digital marketing. When I have free time, I like cycling and trying new restaurants.
Perfect. You see how we didn't include everything? Just the basics.
Name, origin, current location, job, and a hobby or two.
And it takes less than 30 seconds to say.
Now, what if someone wants to hear more? Maybe they ask follow-up questions.
Then you can add more details. For example, if they ask about your family, you can say, I live with my wife and our dog, or my parents live back in my hometown.
Or if they ask about your daily routine, you can say, on weekdays, I usually get up at 6:30, have breakfast, and then commute to work.
The key is to listen to what they're asking and respond naturally.
You don't need to prepare answers for every possible question, just the main introduction.
Now, we promised we'd share our own full introductions as complete examples.
Yes, so you can hear how everything flows together.
I'll go first. Here's mine.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm originally from Boston in the United States, but I've been living in London for about 5 years now. I work as an English teacher and podcast host. I really enjoy helping people improve their communication skills. I live in a small flat in the city with my cat, Luna. My family is still in Boston, and I try to visit them twice a year. In my free time, I love reading novels, especially mysteries and thrillers. I also enjoy going to the cinema and walking around different neighborhoods in London. On a typical weekday, I usually start my morning with coffee and some quiet time. Then I prepare my lessons or work on podcast episodes. I teach online classes in the afternoon and evening. I think my friends would describe me as organized and curious, maybe a bit of a perfectionist sometimes. In the future, my goal is to write a book about language learning and to continue growing this podcast so we can reach more learners around the world.
That was really natural and complete.
Thank you. Now it's your turn.
All right, here's mine. Hello, my name is Mike. I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and I currently live in Barcelona, Spain. I've been here for about 4 years now. I work as a content creator and English coach, which means I make videos and podcasts to help people learn English in a fun way. I live in a shared apartment with 2 roommates who are also from different countries. My parents and my younger sister still live in Vancouver, and we talk on video calls pretty regularly. In my spare time, I really enjoy cycling around the city, playing guitar, and cooking. I'm always trying new recipes, though they don't always turn out well. On weekdays, I typically wake up around 7, make myself a strong coffee, and then spend the morning creating content or editing videos. In the afternoon, I usually have online teaching sessions with students. People often say I'm energetic and easygoing, and I think that's probably true. I get excited about things pretty easily. Looking ahead, I'd like to improve my Spanish to a fluent level, and one of my dreams is to create an online course that helps complete beginners feel confident having their first English conversations.
I love that you included personal details, like cooking recipes that don't always work out.
Well, it's true, and I think those little honest details make introductions more interesting.
I agree. It makes you sound more real and relatable.
So now our listeners have heard 2 full examples.
And hopefully, you're starting to think about your own version.
While you were listening, maybe you were thinking, oh, I could say something similar, or that phrase would work for me.
That's exactly what we want. We want you to borrow ideas and make them your own.
Now, let's talk about some common situations where you'll need to introduce yourself and how to adjust your approach.
Oh, that's useful. Because the way you introduce yourself at a party is different from a job interview.
Exactly. Let's start with job interviews.
In a job interview, your introduction needs to be professional and focused on your qualifications.
You want to highlight your work experience, your skills, and why you're interested in the position.
For example, you might say, Good morning, my name is Sarah Chen. I'm originally from Taiwan, and I completed my master's degree in business administration at London University. For the past 3 years, I've been working as a project manager at a technology company, where I've led several successful teams. I'm particularly interested in this position because it combines my experience in project management with my passion for innovation.
That's professional and relevant to the job.
You're not talking about your hobbies or your cat in this situation.
Right, you're staying focused on professional information. Now, what about a classroom setting?
In a classroom, especially a language class, your introduction can be more personal and relaxed.
The teacher and other students want to get to know you as a person.
So you might say something like, "Hi everyone, I'm Mike. I'm from South Korea and I've been living here for 6 months. I work part time at a bookstore while I study English. In my free time, I love watching movies and playing video games. I'm learning English because I want to make friends here and eventually study at university."
That gives people a nice picture of who you are and why you're there.
It's friendly and open.
What about networking events or professional meetups?
These are semi formal situations. You want to be friendly but also professional.
You might focus on your work, but you can also mention interests that might help you connect with others.
For example, "Hello, I'm Sarah. I work as a marketing consultant for small businesses. I'm originally from Australia, but I've been based in Singapore for the last 2 years. I'm here tonight because I'm interested in learning more about digital marketing trends. Outside of work, I enjoy photography and traveling."
That introduction is professional, but it also gives people something to talk to you about.
If someone else is into photography, they might say, "Oh, I love photography too. What kind of camera do you use?"
And just like that, you've started a conversation. Now, social settings, like parties or casual gatherings.
These are much more relaxed. You can be yourself and keep it light.
You might say, "Hey, I'm Mike. I'm a friend of Lisa's from work. I just moved to this neighborhood a few weeks ago, so I'm still getting to know the area. What about you? How do you know Lisa?"
Short, friendly, and you're already asking them a question to keep the conversation going.
In social settings, you don't need to mention your job title or educational background, unless it comes up naturally.
People just want to know who you are and find common ground.
Another situation is online meetings or video calls.
Oh, yes, this has become so common now.
In online settings, it helps to speak a bit slower and clearer because sometimes the audio quality isn't perfect.
You might say, "Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I'm joining from London, so it's currently afternoon here. I work in the education department, and I'm really looking forward to collaborating with all of you on this project."
Brief, clear, and you've mentioned your location and role.
Now let's talk about some phrases that can help you extend your introduction or keep the conversation flowing.
Good idea. Sometimes after you introduce yourself, there's an awkward silence.
Right, so it helps to know some follow-up phrases.
One useful phrase is, "How about you?" or "What about you?"
After you finish your introduction, you can say, "So that's a bit about me. How about you? Where are you from?"
This shows you're interested in the other person, and it keeps the conversation going.
Another phrase is, "I'd love to hear about you," or "I'd be interested to know more about you."
These sound polite and friendly.
You can also ask specific questions based on the situation.
Like, "Have you been working here long?" or "Is this your first time at this event?"
These questions feel natural, and they help the other person start talking.
Now let's address what to do if you forget something during your introduction.
Oh, this happens to everyone, even native speakers.
If you're speaking and you suddenly can't remember a word or you lose your train of thought, don't panic.
You can pause for a moment. That's completely normal.
You can use filler phrases like, "Let me think," or "What's the word?" or "Oh, I almost forgot to mention."
These give you a second to remember what you wanted to say.
And if you really can't remember, just move on to the next part.
Nobody expects perfection. They just want to understand you.
Another common concern is what to do if someone doesn't understand you.
This can feel embarrassing, but it's really not a big deal.
If someone looks confused or asks you to repeat something, just say it again, maybe a bit slower or with different words.
For example, if you said, "I work in marketing," and they didn't catch it, you can say, "I'm a marketing professional," or "I work in advertising and promotion." Using different words.
Words can help clarify.
And you can always ask, "Did that make sense?" or "Is that clear?"
These questions show you care about being understood.
Now let's talk about cultural differences in introductions.
Oh, this is important.
In some cultures, people are very direct, and it's normal to talk about yourself confidently.
But in other cultures, being too direct or talking too much about your achievements can seem impolite.
So when you're introducing yourself in English, try to find a middle ground.
Be clear about who you are and what you do, but you don't need to brag or exaggerate.
Just be honest and straightforward.
And remember, in English-speaking countries, it's generally okay to make eye contact and smile.
These are seen as signs of confidence and friendliness.
But if that feels uncomfortable for you culturally, it's okay to adapt gradually.
The most important thing is to be respectful and genuine.
Now I want to share some vocabulary that can make your introduction sound more natural.
Yes, let's go through some useful words and phrases.
Instead of always saying I like, you can use I enjoy, I love, I'm into, or I'm passionate about.
For example, instead of saying, I like reading, you can say, I'm really into science fiction, or I'm passionate about photography.
These variations make you sound more fluent.
Instead of I work as, you can sometimes say, I'm in plus the field.
Like, I'm in finance, or I'm in healthcare.
This is a bit more casual, but still professional.
You can also use currently to talk about temporary situations.
I'm currently studying, or I'm currently based in Tokyo.
The word currently shows that this might change in the future.
Another useful word is recently.
I recently moved here, or I recently started a new job.
This adds a time element to your introduction.
And if you want to connect two ideas, you can use words like also, besides, or on top of that.
I work as a teacher. I also run a small online business.
Or, I enjoy reading. Besides that, I like hiking on weekends.
These connecting words make your introduction flow more smoothly.
Let's also talk about how to end your introduction gracefully.
Good point. You don't want to just stop talking abruptly.
You can use phrases like, so yeah, that's a bit about me. Or, anyway, that's me in a nutshell.
Or simply, so that's my story.
These phrases signal that you've finished your introduction.
And then you can pass the conversation to the other person.
Now, I'd love to hear about you, or what brings you here today.
This keeps things conversational and natural.
Now let's practice with a few different scenarios. I'll give you a situation and I'll model an introduction for it.
Great idea.
Scenario 1. You're at your first day at a new job, and your manager asks you to introduce yourself to the team.
Okay, here's what I might say. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I'm really excited to join the team as the new graphic designer. I'm originally from Canada, but I've been living here for about a year. Before this, I worked at a small design agency where I focused mainly on branding projects. In my spare time, I enjoy painting and exploring art galleries around the city. I'm looking forward to working with all of you and learning from your experience.
Perfect. That was professional, but also friendly.
Now you try one. Scenario 2. You're at a language exchange meetup, and it's your turn to introduce yourself.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Mike. I'm from Germany, and I've been learning English for about 2 years now. I work as an engineer at a local company. I decided to join this meetup because I want to practice speaking more naturally and meet people from different countries. In my free time, I enjoy running and watching documentaries. I'm a bit nervous about speaking in front of everyone, but I'm here to improve, so please be patient with me.
I like that you admitted you're nervous. That's honest and relatable.
Sometimes honesty helps people connect with you.
Scenario 3. You're at a friend's birthday party, and someone you've never met starts talking to you.
Okay, this would be very casual. Hey, I'm Mike. I'm a friend of David's from university. We used to play on the same football team. What about you? How do you know the birthday boy?
Short, casual, and you're already engaging them in conversation.
Exactly.
Scenario 4. You're on a plane, and the person next to you asks where you're from.
Oh, I'm from Japan. I live in Osaka. I'm actually flying to New York for a work conference. Have you been to New York before?
Nice. You answered their question and asked one back.
It keeps the conversation balanced.
Now, let's talk about something important: building confidence.
Yes, because knowing what to say is one thing, but having the confidence to actually say it is another thing.
Many learners know the words, but they feel too nervous to speak.
So, how do you build that confidence?
First, remember that making mistakes is completely normal and expected.
Every person who speaks English fluently now made thousands of mistakes when they were learning.
Mistakes are part of the process, not something to be ashamed of.
Second, start small. Practice with people who make you feel comfortable.
Maybe a friend, a family member, or a teacher who is patient and supportive.
Once you feel comfortable with them, it becomes easier to speak with strangers.
Third, remember that most people are kind and understanding.
When you're introducing yourself, the other person wants the interaction to go well too.
They're not looking for your mistakes. They're just trying to get to know you.
Fourth, celebrate small wins.
If you successfully introduced yourself to someone today, that's an achievement.
Even if it wasn't perfect, you did it. That's progress.
And every time you do it, it gets a little bit easier.
Confidence comes from practice and repetition.
Before we finish today, let's give our listeners some clear action steps they can take right now.
Yes, because listening is great, but actually doing something is what creates real improvement.
Action step 1. Write down your basic introduction. Include your name, where you're from, where you live, what you do, and 1 or 2 hobbies.
Keep it simple, just 3 to 5 sentences.
Action step 2. Practice saying it out loud at least 10 times today.
Yes, 10 times might seem like a lot, but each time you say it, it becomes more natural.
You can say it while you're making dinner, while you're getting dressed, while you're walking to the bus stop.
Nobody needs to hear you. You're just practicing for yourself.
Action step 3. Write your introduction in the comments section below this video.
This is really important. When you type it out, you're practicing in a different way. Your brain is working to choose the right words and organize them.
And we genuinely read the comments, so we'll see what you wrote.
Plus, other learners will read it too, and they might get ideas from your introduction. You're not just practicing, you're also helping other people in our community.
Action step 4. Create 3 different versions of your introduction. 1 short version for casual situations, 1 medium version for semi-formal situations, and 1 longer version when someone really wants to know about you.
Having these 3 versions ready means you'll be prepared for any situation.
And action step 5. This week, try to introduce yourself to at least 1 new person in English.
It could be someone in your class, someone at work, or even someone on an online forum or language exchange.
The goal is to use what you've learned in a real situation.
Because that's when the real learning happens.
Now, I know some of you might be thinking, this seems like a lot of work.
And it's true, it does take effort.
But think about it this way. You're going to introduce yourself many times in your life.
At new jobs, at social events, when you travel, when you meet new neighbors.
So investing time now to create a solid introduction will help you for years to come.
It's worth the effort.
And remember, you don't need to be perfect, you just need to be clear and confident enough to connect with people.
That's what introductions are really about, making connections.
All right, before we say goodbye, our final question for you is this.
Can you introduce yourself right now in the comments using at least 3 sentences?
Don't overthink it, just write something simple and honest.
For example, hi, I'm Ahmed. I'm from Egypt and I live in Cairo. I work as an accountant and I enjoy playing chess in my free time.
Or, hello, my name is Yuki. I'm from Japan, but I'm currently studying in Australia. I'm a university student majoring in biology. I love reading manga and cooking Japanese food.
See? Simple, clear, and personal.
We can't wait to read your introductions.
And if this episode helped you feel more confident about introducing yourself, please give it a like.
It really does help other English learners find our podcast.
And if you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button so you don't miss our next episode.
We create new content every week to help you improve your English in a natural, practical way.
You can also share this episode with someone who's learning English.
Maybe a classmate, a colleague, or a friend who's struggling with introductions.
Learning together makes it more fun and motivating.
Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Seriously, we appreciate every single person who listens to our podcast.
You took time out of your day to improve your English, and that takes commitment.
We're proud of you for making that choice.
Remember, introducing yourself is a skill, and like any skill, it gets better with practice.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to try.
Every conversation is an opportunity to improve.
And you're already on the right path.
This has been English Conversation Podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Mike.
Keep practicing, keep speaking, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself.
Your English is getting better every day, even if you don't always notice it.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Until then, take care and keep learning.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.